All right, Dodger fans. Got a lot to cover today. One of which will be a sweep, believe it or not, a sweep on the road against a subpar team, but you got to beat them too, right? Which we did. Today was all about small ball. Clearly the Dodgers know how to get the runs across without hitting. Wait a minute. Hold on. This just in? No, we hit 6 home runs. I'm sorry. I had that all wrong.
7.
7. The voice from the distance tells me exactly the information I need to know. And he is absolutely right. We hit 7. And my name's Tom Wilson. There's the number to call. I have a guest with me today. First-time guest. He's been on the show before when I have to get some information, some important information. He is my go-to guy, one of my go-to guys, Jeff Snyder. Jeff Snyder, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good, man. Let me just check a couple of audio things here. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling about that sweep.
Yeah, they made it scary a little bit there at the end, but I'm getting a little feedback. You getting feedback?
Yeah, go ahead. It's gone now.
Okay, good. Yeah, so they made it scary, but I think what we all expected to happen today was for Eric Goodell to blow the game and Daniel Hudson to be the savior, right?
That's exactly what I tweeted before the game started. I thought Goodell's going to blow it and we're going to hit 7 home runs. And I accidentally erased the tweet, but you're going to have to trust me.
Yeah, that's the problem with Twitter. I blame Twitter.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit. Jeff and I were kind of setting up some Skype. We're doing a little Skype today. The phone line is open. So when you're ready to call, chime on in. You know who you are, the usual suspects. And if there's a first-time caller that calls in and says something that interests me at all, I'm going to give away this Chris Taylor bobblehead today. I'll send it to you.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I want to play too, Tom. I'm going to give away this one.
The Justin Turner. Sweet. Let's hold them both up. So if you call in and Jeff decides he wants to send his to you, he will. And if I decide I want to send mine to you, I will. But they're there for the having if you want to call in. The number's right there, 323-664-5431. First of all, I want to just kind of do something real quick here before we get started into this series. Blue, the Dodger dog, put out a little cartoon this week about, and I didn't know this. Did you know this, Jeff? That at one point in 1965, the Dodgers fielded an all-switch hitter team.
In 1965, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
They had let's see. While we prepared to take on the Mets in New York, let's take a minute and celebrate a little LA Dodgers history. 1965. Hold on a second. Talkin Blue Live. Hold on a second. I'll be right with you.
All right.
1965. Jim Gilliam, Maury Wills, Jim Lefevre, one of my favorites. No, wait. Did all these guys play? Jim Lefevre play in 65?
I think so. Yeah.
That was before you were born. What do you know? You don't know that. All right. Who's on the line? Talkin Blue Live.
It's Dodger Fan Weekly. It's Adele and Annadelle.
Oh, well, this doesn't look too set up. I did not expect this, but I'm glad to hear that you're calling in. What's up?
Nothing. We're just glad that the Dodgers swept the Mets and that the Cubs were swept before they're coming into camp.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see all the home runs, although, poor pitching will do that. And
you're taking away my steam. Go ahead.
and we got to take advantage of it, though, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we did. And you got to take advantage of bad pitching. I mean, the Dodgers, when they face bad pitching, are going to rake. And how many home runs, Jeff? How many home runs did we get off of DeGrom yesterday? Is it one?
Just the one off DeGrom, I think.
Yeah. So we hit a dinger off of DeGrom. So we're hitting the good pitchers too.
Right.
And Wheeler's nothing to sneeze at too.
Who's that?
A grand
Zach
slam
Wheeler.
off.
Oh, right.
So we got people on. That's the important thing. We got to keep getting people on.
Well, it's nice to
Bring them home.
It's nice to get them on and get them over because that's what at the end of the day, I always say it's like, what saffron is? Well, before I get into that, Dodger Fan Weekly, what else you want to say? You want to complain a little bit about people complain about the umpires? A double complaint?
No, we just tweeted because it's so funny how people weren't tweeting at all until there was, something bad against the Dodgers. But there were just a couple of bad calls by the umps today, and no one says anything if it goes our way.
Yeah, that goes back to my theory, which I did on last week's show, which is people really don't care about bad calls, and I can prove it because when the bad.
And I don't think it's time. Personally, we don't really think it's time for robot umps. Humans are humans, and baseball is baseball. It didn't make us lose or win the game. So as long as we stay on top of it, even if there's a bad call, we have to overcome it. That's all.
Well, that's part of the game right now, isn't it? I mean, the rules are the same for everybody. Red Dog Blue says, never doubt blue. Well, never doubt. My name is Thomas. I'm always going to doubt. It's part of my name. It's biblical. I can't deny it.
Well, we always bleed blue, too. That's why we've done Dodger Fan Weekly for 6 years, and we love the Dodgers without any hay or everything else.
Well, I'm looking for a new show. You know that.
Yeah, well, we're going to do one soon. All right.
All right, thanks for calling in.
Yourself, my dear.
Okay.
All right.
Go Dodgers. So Jeff, there's a kind of a notion out there that I've somewhat spread myself as a little bit of, we talked about this today. If when we're in the playoffs and things are, there's an ace on the mound, there are certain hitters I want in there, even though right now their numbers may not be exactly better than another players. I just feel like some players get fat off of bad pitching. I used to do that when I played. And when an ace came along, I was no better than anyone else. That's what aces do. But there were certain guys that just would not, it didn't matter who they faced, man. They were just going to hit. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would be interested. We, like you said, we talked about this before we started recording, and I'm sure somebody's tracking that stuff somewhere, and I'd be interested to see that if there are, it makes sense. Almost, I mean, I see it even on every level of baseball. My son's 11, and he's playing. And I was talking with this coach yesterday. They have a tournament tomorrow, and they're trying to decide who to pitch. And it's like, do we go with our best pitcher or this team that they're playing against? Are they the kind that can hit good pitching? And so maybe we go with one of the kids who's throwing it, a lot slower or whatever.
Yeah.
And if it makes sense to me logically that if you are a world-class hitter who has trained against the best pitching, that you might be thrown off. You see it sometimes. A positional player will come in and get a 1-2-3 inning,
Mm-hmm.
and you might be thrown off by a bad pitcher or somebody with a lot less velocity or whatever. And so yeah, it makes sense to me that might be true, that there are some people who are going to thrive against the best pitchers and others who, like you said, they're going to pad their stats against the weaker pitchers.
And it seems to me, like I said, I'm not a statistics guy. That's why I appreciate guys like you that love the game, that do get into statistics. I mean, I do statistics, but I'm not. I know my limitations when it comes to analyzing baseball with statistics. I do pretty good with the eyes, but there are certain players in the lineup. I got no proof, but I don't know why I feel like Yasiel Puig is the type of guy that a really good ace can be in there, and he would still put a little fear into them, because is there any sort of number or rationale? I don't know, but I do feel like Yasiel's that guy.
I think a lot of it though comes down to there's different kinds of good pitchers. It's
right.
Not just a good pitcher or a bad pitcher, and so Puig, the guys who scare me are a guy with a great fastball. I'm actually not too concerned. There were a couple of years ago Puig struggled against fastballs, but for the most part, he's got the bat speed to get around on a fastball. It's a guy with a killer wipeout slider that scares me with Puig up to bat, and so there's different guys with different weaknesses. Bellinger right now, it's the high fastball that he's struggling with, but in the postseason last year, it was, the back foot slider curveball.
Right.
And so, there's, I think some guys might thrive against good pitchers whose strengths happen to match up with the hitter's strengths.
Well, yeah. I would totally agree with that. this series, I don't know how many home runs we hit in this series, and the reason this topic has come up is because other than DeGrom, obviously, who pitched a fine game, really. We got to him, but his numbers were respectable and good. I just feel like is this a barometer? Watching this game, you got to beat the bad teams, but is this a real barometer to get super excited? I don't feel like it is. But the Cubs are coming into town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 games? Yeah. Is that a 4-game set?
Yeah.
That will be a barometer for me because I'm sure we'll see Leicester, and they're a good team. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Probably see 3 of the same 4 pitchers they saw last week, I would guess. I haven't looked how it lines up. Maybe only 2 of the same ones, but. Today you can't really take much from today other than the fact that the Dodgers did what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Jerry Blevins is starting, you should hit a bunch of home runs. It's basically a bullpen game for the Mets today. I was pleased that they were able to get to DeGrom enough and then put it away against the bullpen, and then against on Friday. It was just that big hit by Bellinger. The Dodgers really didn't hit super well on Friday, but Zach Wheeler, he's got good stuff. There's a reason that he used to be the top pitching prospect. He's got good stuff, and so the pitching kept the Dodgers in the game on Friday and yesterday, and then the offense came through when it needed to, and really that's that could happen just the same way against the Cubs. I don't think the Dodgers are going to face any pitchers as good as DeGrom and even Wheeler against the Cubs this week. I think that...
Well, Lester? Not Lester? I mean...
you saw what the Dodgers did to Lester. They hit him hard. Everything got caught. And, and part of that, it's by design. The Cubs have a great defense, and Lester can pitch the contact more.
And he knew the wind was blowing in. If you're a pitcher and you're in Wrigley Field and you're facing a team that lifts the ball up in the air, hit me hard, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a... Hold on, Talkin Blue Live.
Hey there. Red Dog Breaker here on Facebook, but Dodgers vs. World on Twitter. So,
you got more. You got more names than Carter's got liver pills. What's going on? How are you?
I probably got about 4. But anyway, Thomas, Doubting Apostle, as it used to be called. Great series in one aspect, but I want to flash back to darker times and maybe get your take on it. But I know that the Mets are struggling. They have pitching issues, but the amount of home runs, always a good thing, of course, but do you think the guys are still swinging for the fence for those high numbers that get them paid on contract years instead of high percentage hitting?
I do. I think the nature of the game right now is very much, home runs pay the bills, and these guys know that. And I think the team I personally believe, and I've got a feeling Jeff's going to feel a little differently, but I personally believe the team concept of attacking a pitcher as a team is not near what it used to be. It's more like, look, I'll go after him with my launch angle and velo, and you go after him with your launch angle and velo, and I think that's fine, but home runs go into slumps. That's just the way it is. You cannot hit home runs every game. I don't care who you are. And in this case, how are you going to get negative on a team that just swept a road series against what now Jeff points out, really, we're good pitching, actually. Now that I think about it, although not the relievers and whatnot. But I do it's like the Dodgers have you ever heard of a spice called saffron? Do you know what saffron is?
Yeah, often used in rice.
Yes. Do you know what saffron is, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, saffron is worth more its weight than its weight in gold. It's like this little nose hair type of spice. It's super good, and it's primarily to get the good saffron, you got to get it from Iran. And saffron is great, but you can't just eat saffron. You got to have pepper. You got to have salt to make a good recipe. And a team, to me, is a recipe. It's not enough just to have the saffron and the home runs. The Dodgers are a team, I think, capable of winning. We can have all the saffron we want, all the home runs we want, and that's cool. It makes new fans happy and old fans happy. But you got to have this salt and pepper. You got to have this. You got to be able to play small ball. I think this team can play small ball. So I think it's just a matter of kind of finding that balance in the recipe. I don't see that. I certainly don't see them hitting a bunch of home runs as a negative thing. So, Jeff?
Yeah.
Well, I just remember early on when I used to call, we had talked about that. Everybody was striking out and low percentage hitting, hardly anyone getting on base, no run support for the pitching when the pitching was actually good. But it just seemed I was watching this game today, and I caught most of this series due to work schedule being good. But it looked like everybody was just trying to give it all they had to go there. And, yeah, I agree. And a word I use more often on Twitter was chemistry. You mix the chemistry up good, and it comes out good. But for a while there, in a couple of the past series, they were playing small ball and making them pay. And then occasionally you'd have one or two on, and boom, that big home run would go. But it just looked today, everybody was really swinging hard. And you look at that, 7 home runs and nobody on base.
Well, it's nice when you're swinging hard and you're in Shea. It's not Shea Stadium, Citi Field, I guess it is now. When you're in that stadium and even the announcers were saying the ball's flying out of the park today, it's nice. But if you're going to keep that up, which is what they did in Wrigley, and when the wind's blowing in, then you're just not paying attention. So, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious point is that
Hold on.
I hear a lot of people refer to home runs as a selfish a thing.
No, hold on. Hold on, Red Dog. I got a weird audio set up here because of the new Skype thing. So go ahead, Jeff.
So home runs. I see the point about them being personal glory, looking for the next contract, whatever. But the thing to remember is that every time you hit a home run, your team gets at least one run on the scoreboard, and the team with the most runs at the end of the game wins the game. And so home runs are always a positive. The Dodgers this year, in addition to having the second most home runs in the National League, and actually probably the most now because these stats I'm looking at probably don't include today, and they were only 2 behind the Cardinals. They also have the second most doubles in the league, the 4th highest on-base percentage. This is in the National League. 4th highest on-base percentage. So, I mean, they are getting on base. The issue that they've had at times this year, especially when they were really struggling, I mean, and we saw it. Everybody complained they can't get these guys in a scoring position, which means the unspoken truth is they've had a bunch of guys in scoring position. They're getting guys on base, and I think that boils down to mostly what they call cluster luck. Which I think it's called that to make it sound like a more off-color term. But basically, it's the idea that if you go out there and you get 12 hits a game, you're going to win most of your games. But every once in a while, you're going to get 3 hits in an inning and not score a run, and then 3 hits in another inning and not score a run. And what happened with the Dodgers at times this season was that they had several of those games in a row where they were getting the runners on and just not getting them in. And, I feel like...
And there's a reason for that, obviously.
There is, but I think, that's the big question. What is the reason? And I don't think, it's definitely true that approaches are different these days. But it's not as simple as saying, oh, you need to change your approach in this particular situation because, it's not as easy to change your approach for one at bat. It's the same reason that guys don't just hit opposite field when they're shifted. Well, I was trained to pull the ball, and it's a totally different process to hit opposite field. And so when you come up with a guy on third and less than 2 outs, and everybody knows if you can just put the ball in play, you're going to get the run in, especially you can get it in the air, and then you still have guys striking out. And it's absolutely frustrating, but it's also the way that these guys know how to put the ball in the air is to swing the way they swing, and I think we could go back to a time that I do think people used to be better at that situational hitting, but they were worse at overall hitting. And so it's the trade-off that we have. And I think the older you are, the more frustrating it is, and Tom, I'll put you and me in the same generation. We're both, fans. We were fans of baseball in the '80s, and that was kind of the last great hope for small ball. But the fact is, hitters weren't as good in the '80s. They were better at the situational hitting, but overall they weren't as good. And so it's a trade-off we've made.
I guess my thing is I don't care if a hitter's good or not. I care about winning games. So, if you have a player that can't get a guy in from third base in a clutch situation because he has a narrow approach to how he approaches hitting. I mean, it's not difficult. The game will change. The game is constantly evolving. What we're seeing now will not be the same in 20 years. It is. If you look back to the dead ball era, they've lowered the mound, the game will change. And what will happen is players will start hitting the ball the other way. They will, unless they make it so there's illegal defense in baseball. They will adjust, and players will be more like Justin Turner. They'll be able to have their first pitch, second pitch, home run swings. But when there's 2 strikes and you need to get a guy in or over, they will adjust and they will get better this way. They will get the guy in. And Justin Turner, Rizzo, he chokes up on 3. Plenty of good players right now in the game are prototypes for the future. And what that will be what will change about the game is they will get that runner in from third and not swing and not stick to their one swing. That's my feeling on that. Hold on a second. Yeah. Red Dog, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear Jeff. So I'm kind of in the death tone there. But yeah, I agree. The game is always evolving. If this doesn't work anymore, go to that. And yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I gotta apologize real quick. One of the things we didn't calculate, or I didn't calculate, Jeff, is that unless I turn you up where you get the feedback, right?
Yeah.
They can't hear you.
Well, do you get the feedback on your side if you do that?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine then. I can deal with feedback.
But I'm wondering if I wonder if it's going to go out over Facebook. Okay, Red Dog, are you on Facebook right now?
Yeah, I am, and I could hear Jeff that time when he was talking back to you right there.
But you're not getting feedback on the audio.
No,
okay.
I'm not.
Okay, then
Jeff, I don't have a laptop on. I'm just using my phone because I used to get feedback when I had them both going.
Okay, so
even
Jeff,
with the delay.
Jeff, is it tolerable?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay, so he's the only one getting feedback. I want you two to be able to hear each other because what Jeff says is important, and I think it's not just valid; it's the truth right now.
Maybe we should ask the people who are actually just listening on Facebook, throw us a comment if you're getting feedback.
Yeah, thank you. So go ahead, Red Dog. I think we're feeling a little. Obviously, Jeff is much more accepting of the hitting approach right now than you and I are. Red Dog, what is your take on what Jeff says as far as, look, these guys are better hitters now, and this is just the way the game is, and you spoke better than that. But.
For example, this series, that worked. We can go back into April and early May, and it wasn't working. So I think that depends upon your opponent and how it goes. But I can also recall where they had the bases loaded several times, and they were out. It was done. This series versus the Mets, yeah, that worked out fine. How would that work out against other teams like the Cubs or the Brewers or the Cardinals, or even with the Giants? There was low-scoring games.
Or if the wind's blowing in, which has happened, especially in the fall when the playoffs start. If you're not in a dome stadium, which I don't think there is any, you better not be going high launch angle, exit velo type of swinging, or you're definitely get your goose cooked because you're not going to hit the ball out in Wrigley all day long. I don't care how hard you hit the ball; it's not going out.
Tell that to Kike Hernandez.
That's one. That's one. And
yeah, and that's kind of my overarching point is I absolutely agree that this lack of ability to change approach can occasionally cost the team a game. But I think that on the whole, what that approach, the games that it wins, it's easy to remember the failures, and it's easy to forget sometimes that the fact is today, some of those guys who just swing for the fences, they hit home runs, and the Dodgers won by 1 run. Without those home runs today, Even if those had been singles and trying to play small ball, the Dodgers would have lost today's game without the home runs.
I think that's a great point, and I do. And we did face two decent pitchers today, but we also, played pretty much a last place floundering team. So I wouldn't give, we hit a lot of home runs, and it worked out in our favor. It's just when we face a good pitcher and the wind's blowing in the fall, you can't just hit one way. You can't just eat saffron. You got to have pepper. You got to have salt.
That was my other point about the on-base percentage. I don't think the Dodgers get enough credit that I think they are a good hitting team, not just a power hitting team. And it got lost a little bit earlier in the season because they were hitting the ball, just not in those key moments with the runners in scoring position. And ultimately, it boils down to, I think that had more to do with bad luck than anything else. Not 100% bad luck, but I think the main culprit there was bad luck.
Okay, well, that's one take, and I can't say I totally agree with you. I mean, on-base percentage is a nice thing because the Dodgers walk a lot, right? But you don't get a guy in from third walking. You got to put the ball in play. Guys don't make errors when you walk.
No, but I mean, getting on base is getting out.
Take the walks out of their on-base percentage and tell me what that stat is. I mean,
that's batting average, which is
you got to put the bat on the ball. You got to put the bat on the ball to get a guy in from third. A walk does not get a guy in, and that's your on-base percentage.
Yeah, and but that comes down to your stats with runners in scoring position. This is overall stats, and the Dodgers are in the middle of the pack in batting average in the National League. They're not bad compared to the rest of the league. But I agree. If you've got runner on third and one out, if you can get a chance. But the problem is it's a false dichotomy. I think a lot of people. To get a walk, that means the pitcher threw 4 pitches out of the strike zone, and that means the way to avoid walking is to probably swing at some pitches that maybe you can't put a good swing on.
Well,
a lot of people think. I'll finish this point. And a lot of people think that the options are either walk and not drive in the run, or get your sack fly and drive in the run. They forget that a lot of times the third option is hit a weak ground ball to second base that doesn't score the run either.
Well, that's true. And the only thing I would quibble with on that is, to get a walk doesn't mean you got 4 pitches outside the strike zone. I would contend that most walks take place. You probably got 3 or 4 pitches to hit during the walk. Probably fouled off 2 or 3 balls before you get a walk. Rarely is it a 4-pitch walk. But I think we kind of hammered that one down enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Red Dog, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. But the one thing is that if you look at what time small ball fails, is there's some weak links in the lineup in the batting order where you have some of the hitters in the current lineup that just aren't high percentage hitters, long ball, short ball either. But basically, I think that if you have the right combination, the right recipe, you have enough saffron, enough pepper on those days, and then you have enough just saffron on the other day, it'll work out in its favor for the Dodgers. But like you said, Mets are struggling, and the Dodgers took advantage of it, so that definitely works here.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, I heard of different trade deadline rumors that possibly the Dodgers would go after DeGrom. What do you guys think about that?
Jeff?
That puts a smile on my face. Depends on what the Mets are asking for. If Walker Buehler's involved, I'm not interested.
Yeah, me neither. Totally out.
Pretty much anybody else. I honestly, we had a little argument on Twitter the other day about, it wasn't in regards to DeGrom. It was actually about Brad Hand, and because the Padres are apparently asking for a king's ransom for Brad Hand too. Pretty much none of the Dodgers minor leaguers I would consider untouchable. I would prefer that they not trade Verdugo, just because I think that dude is going to hit for the next 15 years.
Agreed.
And honestly, I would rather have them trade Tolles or Jock.
Or Yasiel. I'd go. Yeah, I mean, I love Yasiel, but I'll put him on that list too. I mean,
I think I like Puig more than a lot of people do, but I get what you're saying there.
I like him a lot, but you got to get rid of something to get some. And but I would not put, like you said, the young pitcher. I'm drawing a blank.
Buehler.
Yeah, I would not put Buehler on that list.
Yeah, I think Buehler. I would take Buehler over DeGrom today, and definitely for the next 6 years.
Right.
It's pretty close today, and I know that there's some homer glasses there. Obviously, DeGrom has been amazing this year, and I'm not saying Buehler has performed as well as DeGrom, but I think DeGrom's stuff or Buehler's stuff is just as good as DeGrom's. I would love to have DeGrom in our rotation, though, and so even if it was a package of 6 minor leaguers, as long as Buehler's not included, and if it's 6 guys, don't throw Verdugo in. But I love the idea of bringing DeGrom to the Dodgers.
Mad Dog.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to hang on to Buehler. That's for sure. But right now, it seems like the Mets' struggling point, especially since they let Harvey go to the Reds, is just pitching's there. So they're going to want pitching prospects. And right now, it seems like the pitching staff is gelling, even with all the injuries. But I would not want to see Buehler or Stripling go. As a matter of fact.
Yeah, right now I just don't think making a trade right now just doesn't make sense to me. It's just let's see how this goes.
There's a lot of rumors gelling about that, especially since that's the case. And then the other thing you have to look at, DeGrom has passed that magic number 30 now, so in age, and you can see some decline in a lot of 30-year-old pitchers, and then some that they get it back.
I've said this before on the show, but I'll say it again. I once had a general manager tell me face-to-face, he said, good general managers pay players for what they're going to do. Bad general managers pay players for what they did. And so that's the whole yardstick as far as DeGrom and Buehler go. But all right, bud, I'm going to open up the line.
All right, take care, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Red Dog. Yeah, you and I have talked about this in the past, Tom, that one of the points of having a great minor league system that the Dodgers have is that you have trading chips. You have guys you can trade, and and DeGrom might be one of those guys. He is. It always surprises me when I remember that DeGrom's only 3 months younger than Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw jumped on the scene so much earlier than DeGrom, but they're about the same exact age.
Wow, I didn't know it was that close.
And so it's DeGrom isn't a young guy. I'd rather have Syndergaard. If the Mets were trading pitchers, I'd rather have Syndergaard than DeGrom because he's so much younger. I think 4 years from now, Syndergaard will still be really good, and DeGrom probably won't be. But for this year, I would love to have DeGrom.
Yeah. Someone just told me they got your echo, so while I'm talking to you, I'm going to turn the echo down. But for communication purposes, I'm going to turn it up, and we're going to deal with the echo.
Okay.
Talkin Blue Live.
Hey, Talkin Blue. This is Filbert out here in Vegas.
You know what, Filbert? I've finally come to the conclusion. You're not Filbert. I know who you are. You've called in enough to the show now. I know exactly who you are. You are Eric Karros. You sound just like Eric Karros. You
know what? I'm prettier than Eric Karros.
I don't think so.
Nobody's prettier than Eric.
Yeah, come on, man. Well, maybe.
Well, okay, all right.
So, hey, real quick, Filbert, you were getting feedback on Jeff's mic.
There's an echo on Jeff.
All right, was it bearable?
You know what? He's saying stuff that's so cool that he deserves to be heard twice.
So nice. I said it twice.
Wow, sucking up. All right,
he really wants this JT bobblehead.
He does. So let me just real quick. I want to just say we just made a sweep. We swept it. We won 3 in a row. We're gonna go back home. We're gonna play Chicago. We're gonna kick butt. And so I was earlier showing the one. Hey, that's 65 switch hitting thing. Was that all on one team in one game?
That was all through the series. That was our infield in 1965.
In the World Series.
And yes, including the World Series.
No, how much? Not to be catty or anything here, but now, do you think Jim Gilliam was worried about his launch angle? All right, stop, Tom. Stop it.
Maybe not Jim Gilliam, but I'm old enough to remember Sweet Lou Johnson, and he might have been concerned with it.
Sweet Lou might have.
His home run that kind of sealed the 65 series for him.
So Phil is the creator of Blue the Dodger Dog, and I always take the opportunity because I think Blue speaks for all fans. For fans like me, for fans like Jeff that know the numbers a little bit better, for fans like just an average fan. And so one of the ones that came out recently was time for a little Muncie love, and there can't be enough Muncie love right now in Dodger Town. I'm sorry. The latest candidate, I don't know about mayor. Well, you know what? I'll take him. I don't want to get political, but I'll take him for mayor right now. And then you put out I gotta say thank you. You put out a nice panel, a comic panel. It says remember today, after today's game, True Blue fans call or listen to Talkin Blue with Tom Wilson, the call-in show that actually answers the phone. And yes, we do actually answer the phone. I just want to say thanks for that. That's very kind.
Oh no, I want to thank you guys for giving Dodger fans a forum, and this is great because we all get to kind of chat. I like to get the. I don't always call in because I'm trying to hopefully leave the lines open for other folks who might be first-time callers or are not aware, but trying to expand our little group here.
Well, when I talked to Ross Porter, he said, you're going to have a hard time getting going. And I said, why? I said, because people will get nervous. They just remind them they're talking about baseball. People get nervous. And you know what? The thing is, the calls are nice. We're getting some activity on I don't know if we're on what we're doing as far as Twitch and that other outlet today. But I'm seeing on Facebook Live we're getting some responses. And it's not so much, that when we get the live calls for the show here, because when we get let me just show this. When we get online, we've done YouTube. I'll pop it out on YouTube. We do Facebook Live, Steam it, Twitch. I don't know anything about those, but Charlie says, Choo Choo Charlie, my technical guy, says we get on there. So afterwards, we do get, this says like there's 4,000 people reached. This was on a past show, I think. I can't remember if Ron Cervenka was guest hosting, but 4,000 people reached and 1,900 views. Well, when I get the metrics, it's not even 1,900 views. That's like attendance in baseball. It's really ticket sales. But it's hundreds of fans now that will watch this show a long way through later on. So I, if you're not calling live and you're not watching live, I just want to say for you folks who are watching it later on the different platforms, it's nice to know that this effort goes out to hundreds of fans. So, and we're growing. So. That said,
then that means
got to get that business out.
On those of us who do call in to give you a little controversy, give you a little something to talk about, and
go on.
Okay, I have really enjoyed the conversations about the approach the hitters have been taking, the changes in the game, and of course I'm old enough to remember the old Earl Weaver Baltimore Orioles. Philosophy of we'll just sit back and wait for the 3-run homer,
which worked like a charm.
So this is a cyclical kind of thing. I think everything in baseball kind of is.
Yeah.
You go through this small ball and then you go for the big, blah blah blah. So these things go around and around and around. And right now, and I think it's dependent. Let's look at the situation in the game, the level of athleticism and strength of the players lends itself well to a long ball kind of approach. But I'm going to give you a little controversy here from a Dodgers point of view.
Jeff,
and
take over.
I never, ever like to pick on a particular player.
Why? That's what Wait. That's what baseball's about. I'm getting a little tired of the sycophantic. You can't talk bad about a player on your team. Like I've always said, I never say a player's trash or he sucks, because if you play in Major League Baseball, you are a stud. You're a great athlete. But
absolutely,
all that said, if you're going to praise and put athletes on pedestals, you have every right as a paying fan to say that guy's not doing very well, and here's why. Go on.
All right. Well, thank you for that that little lead-in, that little bit of permission, because I'm going to say something that I don't like to say, because I do.
Hold on. Are you there? Hold on. I don't know how to do this without hanging up on you. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. You're still there. All right. Go ahead. I almost hung up on him.
Okay.
I had someone to blame that on. Go ahead.
Again, with all due respect and with all because I root for this guy from the bottom of my heart. He's wearing the right jersey. I love him. But we've talked about players coming to the plate with certain approaches. Whether or not they're looking to, go the other way, whether or not they're looking. We can debate all we want to, but the bottom line is the Dodgers are a good hitting team. They do have some power. Their on-base percentage is good, but they are not a good situational hitting team. And I don't think that can be disputed, but, I'm willing to listen. But of all the players in the lineup that I've seen over the course of the season, the one who comes to the plate with the poorest approach is Logie Bear, our beloved Logan Forsythe. Good guy, got nothing against him, but this guy, I am so tired of watching him sit there and take these fat pitches with his bat on his shoulder. This isn't new. This isn't a recent development. This has been a consistent approach that has failed, and I'm tired of it. Give somebody else second base. There's my controversy.
Jeff?
Oh, I think you should answer this one, Tom. I know how you feel about Logie Bear.
Well, here's my thing about Logie Bear, but then you got to chime in, Jeff, because you made a good point, and I want to hear it. My feeling about someone like Logie Bear is it's I don't want to stick. It's the second base position. I don't want to stick a player who isn't phenomenal defensively. I will put up with a guy who hits 200 and got to stick him, bat him eighth. The reason over history you've seen most number 8 batters or second baseman, or oftentimes it's changed a little bit, but it's because at that position you don't have to worry so much about offense. He is a solid defensive player. I really want a solid defensive player there. And you know what? When everybody's took us as pucker.
Jeff, I love you, and I agree with you.
No, wait, that's Tom talking.
This is Tom
We're not talking about
Hold on.
Javi Baez.
Hey, this is Tom talking. Hold on. Not that you think you're hearing.
I'm
Jeff.
sorry.
Yeah. But hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
You're going to get your time. It's a nice thing about Talkin Blue Live is people get their time. So my feeling about that second is I want a guy to fields, and I honestly feel, as an experienced baseball fan, watching and playing a little bit, that when nut cutting time comes and you're in the playoffs and you have a tense situation, and sometimes the simplest little ground ball, if a guy's just not a superior player, can be booted and a problem. I want a guy like him out there picking up the ball and throwing it to first on the routine plays, because it's the routine plays that'll bust your chops in the playoffs when they don't get made. I'm not happy with the way he's hitting, Phil, but I'm absolutely okay with his ability to play defense. And I also feel, like I was telling Jeff earlier, that I think he's the type of veteran hitter that against a really good pitcher in the playoffs at the right time, when you need to get a guy in from third or move a guy over, I think he will put the bat on the ball. He's proven me to be wrong about that right now. But I at second base, and I'm not talking about Javi Baez. Muncy is not Logie Bear. I don't even like that nickname, but whatever. But I just don't want to sacrifice any defense at second base, and shortstop is pretty much the same way for me. Jeff?
Well, you know what?
Hold on, Phil. Let's let Jeff chime in. I'm going to turn him up. We're going to get a little feedback, fans. But go ahead, Jeff, because I want him to hear you.
Yeah, I've got a.
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, Phil?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I have a soft spot for Forsythe because partly because my son's name is Logan, but it's hard for me to disagree with anything Phil is saying about Forsythe offensively, or with anything Tom's saying about Forsythe defensively. And so the question is the trade-off worth it? And, for me, basically, I go back and forth. When the Dodgers are in the field, I think it's worth it. And when Forsythe's up the bat, I don't. I honestly, though, I think, Phil, you might be underrating Forsythe defensively. He's not as flashy as Baez, but defensively, Forsythe is the best second baseman the Dodgers have had in a long time.
Yep.
And he gets to the ball, he makes the plays, he's got the arm. We saw 2 years ago the Dodgers could not turn a double play because Chase Utley and his wet noodle were playing second base.
Oh, man.
And so, and I love Utley. I love the way he plays the game. I love everything about Chase Utley except the dude can't throw.
Yeah.
And you don't realize, you think about second base as the least important arm position, and it is. It's the shortest throw. But when it comes to turning double plays, you need that arm. And Utley is a second baseman because of his arm. He's got the speed and the athleticism to play anywhere on the field.
Powering on. Welcome to Alltech Lansing.
All right, go ahead. It's just Charlie the technical.
No problem.
We're with you. Go ahead.
But yeah, second base is the only position where Utley's arm will play, and it doesn't even totally play there. Forsythe's got the arm. He's got the range. I love everything about Logan Forsythe defensively. And then we saw in September and October last year, Forsythe can hit. I don't know what's going on with him, but I think there's something about Forsythe that makes it easy to blame his approach when he's struggling. But then it's that same approach, and he was hitting the heck out of the ball at the end of the last season and into the postseason. He's got that kind of inside out look and swing. He does take a lot of first pitch strikes, which is
pick that up, Jeff.
I'm picking it up. Do you need me to switch to the phone?
No, just talk into the phone. I'm just going to perfect this along the way. Just hold it out like, there you go. There you go.
Hold it out like this? Okay.
Yeah.
So he's got that swing that makes it, like I said, he takes a lot of pitches, whatever, but it works for him when he's working. The problem is, I don't know if he's not completely healthy. Last year, he had that broken toe or whatever, and then it took a couple months for him to get back going. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I don't know that it's necessarily approach, because the approach works for him when he can hit.
And I think he's I think he's at the bottom right now as far as hitting. You can put it down. I was just trying something. We're trying some stuff on the fly here. I appreciate the patience. And I think he's at the bottom of his hitting right now. I'm not looking statistically. Phil, I'm going to let you chime in. We've both been kind of going at it for a minute here.
I'm sorry, Tom. To be honest with you, I didn't hear 80% of what Jeff had to say.
All right. Well, the audience.
I did get a little bit of a sense that the basic argument, if there is one, is that is between the difference between Logan Forsythe's contributions as a defensive player as opposed to an offensive player. And I do understand that second base is not a position where you're necessarily looking for a lot of offense. In my humble opinion, I've not seen anything defensively from Logan Forsythe that was so superior to the other second basemen that we have who have played that position, including Max Muncy, that would compel me to play him over someone else, because his approach at the plate has been so ineffective. You can look at the numbers. He is not a good offensive player, or at least he hasn't been for the Dodgers. Now, where is his value within the organization? I'm not saying, let's go string him up, but I am saying that, he needs to, just like, Jock had to go back and earn his position back, didn't he? All these, you have to perform. And, I want him to succeed. And I do think he's a talented individual, but maybe his value is greater as a trade chip or as something else, rather than our everyday second baseman, which I don't see the advantage of starting him every day. But that's just my opinion.
Well, and, it's not invalid. I mean, he's a frustrating offensive player right now. But I don't know that you're going to see it with the naked eye that he's necessarily a superior second baseman. But his consistency level over time, and especially when it gets clutch time, I've seen so many players that they're not out of position, but that's not their focal point.
Tom, I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to say, here's what I've seen with my little eye, and I've watched baseball for 50 years. What I have seen consistently from Logan Forsythe is poor at-bats, taking pitches that hittable pitches. You know, he does not hit his approach is not situational. And it's not. He doesn't try to do anything. He
tries to hit.
I'm sorry. I would love to put together. I wish I had all the film, and I would love to put together a video of his at bat. And in my eyes, what I've seen is a player who is trying to apply this philosophy of, well, I'm going to take a pitch and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you know, and he doesn't swing. And name the last big hit he had. Name a hit he had.
Well, he had a couple.
And that's all. That's all.
All right. All right. Well, we've heard you, and I'm like I said, it's not an invalid point, but I think once again, it's like the beauty of baseball. It's a microcosm of life. Kind of teaches you how to have conversations, and it teaches you how to agree and how to disagree, and share loves and hates.
All I know is that I'm off Logie Bear's Christmas card list. I'm sorry.
Well,
because I do like the guy. There's nothing. I'd love to see him turn it around.
Have you ever done a blue cartoon with Logie Bear?
No, and I wouldn't go out, lynch a guy, if
well, that's a high praise. I wouldn't lynch him.
Kind of fan.
So you ruled out murder.
Guy
That's good.
who says, I root for the laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
You're my guy. And Logan Forsythe, every time he comes to the plate,
all right.
Might be,
I know. Yeah, I know. But can I make a suggestion? I'm thinking, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm thinking if you do a positive comic strip on Logan Forsythe, I think that could go a long way into turning things around. It'll help you as a Dodger fan, and if he gets wind of it and other fans start getting positive vibes, maybe you should take the initiative here. You know that little blue dog has a heavy impact on a lot of people.
You know what? Tom, thank you.
You're welcome.
You've just opened my eyes. I am going to start a Logan Forsythe for president.
No, you're not going to go that far.
I think the point here to remember, Phil.
Hold on. Let me turn you up, Phil.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the thing to remember, Phil, is that Logan Forsythe struggles are your fault, and until you fix it.
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to take that to heart. And you know what? I have just started the remember how Vinny used to say, this is the Logan Forsythe Marching and Chowder Society.
Yes.
I have taken it upon myself to turn around Logan Forsythe's Dodger career.
June 24th, 3:01 p.m., Logan Forsythe's season is going to turn around right now. All right?
Yes, we can.
You're going to see a cartoon first thing in the morning, and you're going to say, okay, here's where it changes. And Logie, I got your back. Blues got your back. Just start swinging the dang bat.
And also, you're such a gifted artist. I'm going to throw it out there, and then I'm going to clear up the line. If you ever get a chance to give Jeff Snyder a little cartoon pomp with your, it's such a thrill to get to be in one of Blue's cartoon strips. I'm just going to throw it out there, maybe because Jeff's helping me out with the show today. But maybe you could do one on him down the road. No pressure, but definitely the Logan Forsythe. Get on that one.
Just not too many chins when you draw me, please.
All right, we're gonna go.
You've got it, guys. Hey, thanks so much for both of you and all you do.
All right, bud. Thanks.
It's fun to listen to.
Thanks, Phil.
All right. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know he couldn't hear you, so if you have any.
Yeah. I think what it boils down to is that we disagree on Forsythe's defense. Even if he agreed with us on the quality of Forsythe's defense, it's still an open question whether that outweighs his offense right now. I think it's totally valid, and if Muncy keeps hitting, there is a point where it is worth trading off defense for offense. It's just a question of where that point is, and I don't know the answer with Forsythe, except that I've seen him hit at the end of last season. And so, I don't think it's an approach thing. I think his approach was the same when he was hitting. I think it's something mechanical or something. And if he can get back to hitting, well, then you've got a great defensive second baseman who can also hit. And that's obviously what you'd love to have.
When he was with Tampa and the Dodgers, signed him up, I mean, what was his offense atrocious then?
No, he was a pretty good hitter. I mean, he was never a high average hitter, which led a lot of people to think he wasn't much of a hitter.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, his last 2 years in Tampa, he had some power. He hit 17 and 20 homers in those last 2 seasons.
Whoa.
He got on base. Yeah, I mean, it's not a Forsythe that we've seen.
Right.
And he also struck out a lot, which unfortunately we have seen that version. It's kind of interesting though. He's actually striking out, I think, a little bit less this year than last year. Maybe that's I don't know. But if I could diagnose Forsythe's offensive woes, I'd be a rich man.
Yeah.
But I do know he has potential to be a good hitter, and he's currently a really good fielder, and so it's hard to give up on the guy.
Especially if you're getting offense. If they were absolutely not getting offense anywhere, I'd say, okay, look, start Muncy, let him do his thing, and then later on in the ninth inning, if you're in a 1-2 run game, bring in Forsythe and let him do his thing. But we're getting some offense. I just presently, I can see how it's not easy to watch him hit right now. So
yeah,
go ahead.
And Phil makes a point there in the comments, that Forsythe starts every at bat 0-1, and it's totally true. He does take the first pitch almost every time. But my point that Phil couldn't hear when we were talking
mm-hmm.
was that that's the same approach that he hit the heck out of the ball with at the end of last season. So I don't think I don't think that's the problem. I think when Forsythe's on, he can hit in an 0-1 count. It's not putting him in a hole. It's whatever the issue is. I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I don't either. And I'm hoping, maybe he's a little bit more streaky of a player than we thought, and he'll come around. So there's this thing called Eye on Baseball that we do on the show here, and it's basically we look at sabermetric stuff, and I try to find an article and make a detailed kind of a hard stats article relatable to the average fan. So in this case, basically there's this thing called Brooks Baseball, and this might be small if you're looking at it on your phone. So bear with us a little bit here. We'll try to make it a dialogue intensive thing, so you don't have to rely on the visuals so much. But if you go to Brooks Baseball and you want to look up player stats, especially pitchers in this case, holy smokes, you can dig and drill deep. And while drilling deep is fun for some people, for other people it's like, I work with Excel at work. I don't want to mess around with this at home, and I get it. So, but with what Kershaw kind of trying to come back, having an outing yesterday that I thought was completely subpar, for his standards, and really by anyone's standards, I didn't think it was a good outing. I just started looking at some of this stuff on this Brooks Baseball, which is kind of not a sabermetrics place, but a place where you can go to get information on baseball. And on this particular chart here, I'm just going to kind of guide your eye a little bit because I looked at it for a second. And Jeff, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. Is it visible? Some of the detail stuff?
Yeah.
A little small.
For me, it is.
Okay. If you're on a computer, you're fine. So this basically looks at Kershaw against righties and lefties, and it talks about his four seam, his sinker, his slider, his curve. You see along the top of the chart there. Definitely a guy who relies on the four seam against left-handers. In the orange, you see he throws it 81% of the time, and against right-handers, he throws it 77% of the time. And then the slider, he throws 15% of the time. That's his out pitch. And the curve, and there's time, like if he's even in a count, let's go to, if he's ahead in the count, then he pulls out his curve and his slider, and the four-seam fastball gets put away. So that's just real quick there. And if you're watching online, you can freeze this later if we're not live. But I just want to kind of go to another thing here real quick. And then there's this is what its pitches result in. So he's thrown since he started in 3/30/2007. He's thrown 19,000 four-seam fastballs. That'll be a little rough on your arm, Jeff. 19,000. Yeah. You were telling me about your arm earlier. Good Lord, I'm surprised he's even sticking on his. And then he throws a sinker, and then he's got his change that he pulls out every now and then. There's a slider, his out pitch. He's thrown 7,000 times, and his curveball he's thrown 4,300 times. And his sliders he's thrown a slider about a third of the time he's thrown his four-seam fastball, but he's got more strikeouts on his slider, so that's his strikeout pitch. You see anything on here that kind of jumps out at you, Jeff?
Well, I mean, the one thing that kind of jumps out at me is that this is his whole career.
Correct.
And I think one thing we've seen is that Kershaw is evolving as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
I think as his fastball velocity has gone down, he's become more reliant on the slider even.
Yep.
It's a tough pitch to hit, and it's one of those things, it makes sense. He used to be able to, pump it up to 96 and sit at 94, and now he's more of a, who knows? I don't know if we can say what his current velocity is because he hasn't been healthy this year. Three starts from now, I think that'll be, we can say what Kershaw currently is, but I think he's relying even more on the slider now.
Definitely.
And so that's interesting to see as he evolves as a pitcher. Everybody has to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Only the freaks. I mean, Nolan Ryan was still throwing gas into his, mid 40s. But most guys, they change. We've seen it with CC Sabathia. We've seen it with Bartolo Colon. We've seen it with a lot of these guys who've lasted into their late years. They're totally different pitchers than they used to be. A good example from when we were younger is Frank Tanana. You probably remember Frank Tanana as a strikeout pitcher. I remember him as a soft tossing lefty in the 80s, So guys have to evolve like that. And so I'm interested to see what Kershaw does over these next couple years.
Mm-hmm.
If his fastball, if he does, if he can't top 91 or 92, or maybe even more, over time, if Kershaw, from my mouth to God's ears, if Kershaw can pitch till he's 40, he's going to be a totally different pitcher at that point than he is now. And so I would be really interested to see something like this with, graphed over time with the changes per,
which you can do on Brooks Baseball. I could have locked in, you could see on the chart there on the left, you can actually put in your dates, right, on your left there. So I could go back 3 weeks or whatever. One of the things I noticed yesterday, I've watched him. I love Clayton Kershaw. I've watched him pitch his whole career. I saw his first game. He was afraid to throw the fastball yesterday. He was literally. There were times you just like he knows he should throw the fastball here. He knows he can get the guy out, but he doesn't trust it, and it was rough to watch.
Yeah, and the one caveat I would give about yesterday is basically I don't really care what happened yesterday because it was a rehab start.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rehab start that happened at the major league level because of the weather and whatever. But Kershaw didn't come out after 3 innings because he was ineffective. He came out after 3 innings because he was making a rehab start and they wanted him to throw about 50 or 60 pitches, and he was there. And I think that's the way Kershaw's looking at it. And he even said after the game, he said, health-wise, I'm there, so now it's time to start getting the results there. And that's, I think that's the way the Dodgers looked at it, Kershaw looked at it, and the way I'm looking at it is yesterday was a rehab start, and there's one thing you and I can definitely agree on is that if Kershaw had been pitching in Cucamonga yesterday, we wouldn't care about the results. We would care that he came out of it healthy.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I'm looking at yesterday. Still, his velocity has been an issue this year. But again, I don't know how healthy he's been at all this year.
Well, that's the thing is first of all, it wasn't. I don't think he just got pulled up 3 innings. Those were a bad 3 innings for him. Did he give up 2 runs in 3 innings? I mean, and he didn't. As far as I'm concerned, he didn't look good. It is all about the health. At the end of the day, that's what matters. My feeling is, I don't see him getting healthier. I haven't seen him getting healthier in a year or over a year, in a year and a half. I see a guy slowly regressing. I mean, he might be able to get a good cortisone shot or whatever they get nowadays and have a couple good outings, but over a little bit of period of time, he is regressing, clearly regressing. And the idea that he's going to get better, I think is a little bit of wishful thinking. And I want him to get better. I love Clayton Kershaw. I've been blessed to watch that man pitch for 11 years.
Yeah, I think if he's, health is a tricky thing. What are we considering totally healthy? He's not ever going to have the arm and the back that he had 5 years ago. But I think if he had that biceps tendonitis, we don't know how long he was dealing with a sore arm or a dead arm before that. So we don't know what struggles he had this year were because of his arm. We don't know how long his back bothered him before the first time we heard about it. So that's why I say if his arm and his back are healthy, meaning he can be his current best self.
Yeah.
I think he's absolutely going to be better than he was yesterday, because yesterday I honestly think Kershaw and the Dodgers went into yesterday's game thinking we don't really care about the results at all. Give us a good 50 or 60 pitches, because I think everything about yesterday was how does he feel today? And so I think yesterday's outing was totally 100% a success because he pitched and he feels good today, which means next time out he'll go a little bit longer. He'll push things more. I don't know that I'm afraid to throw the fastball. I think he probably knew he wasn't at a point where he could get guys out with a fastball, but I don't think that's a permanent thing. I think that was in a rehab start. I'm going to throw a bunch of sliders. I mean, his fastball hit 92 yesterday. It wasn't awful.
One did. Yeah. Generally he was around 90 yesterday, but yeah, he got it up there a couple times.
Yeah, and so which is a lot better than the 86 to 88 that we saw 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so for me, everything about yesterday for me was positive because I'm looking at it as just a rehab start, and he was healthy, and the fact that the Dodgers were able to eke out a win against Jacob deGrom in the same game, great. That's frosting on the cake.
Okay. I mean, and my feeling is I'm gonna hell, it's my show. I can say what I want. I think he's regressing. I think he'll never be an ace like he was before. I know trying to throw a pitch, especially the way he pitches, he's got a heavy back bend when he finishes pitching with a bad back. I mean, it's like, well, yeah, if he gets better, he's going to be an ace again. But I don't see him getting completely better, and I think at some point he's just going to kind of tuck into being a two. I mean, even several years ago, Greinke was our ace, but they were both aces. If you look on here on this chart here, Jeff, it says on his four seam, this is over his career now, obviously, right? When we're done here, I might go back and look at recently. But his average over the career is 94 miles an hour. That's what batters are used to seeing from him, right? He's never going to do that again. I mean, he's definitely not going to get up there around 94 again.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you that. But I think he can be perfectly effective. I don't think he's ever going to have a 1.7 ERA in a season again. But I think he's still totally capable of putting up a 2.5 ERA.
Yeah,
with his current stuff, and 2.5 ERA is still ace stuff. It's not Clayton Kershaw MVP stuff, but it's still ace stuff.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right, because if his back holds up, you're right. If his back and his arm, and you know how it is, the hip bones connect to the thigh bone, and it's all connected, and that's when you start getting tendonitis, and then that started as a back, and I don't want to be a doom and gloomer. It doesn't do any good to sit on a show like this and just talk about how great things are. I mean, if I think I'm seeing a regression, I'm going to mention it. But I also said on another show a while back, I don't know if you saw it, but we're seeing a changing of the guard. We're definitely seeing a changing of the guard on a Dodger pitching staff. This is the downside of it, and our young guys, the coming up, that's the good side of it. So. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I just want to show a quick chart here. It's interesting. Last year, this is a chart that Baseball Reference puts out, and it's basically, the green is us, our victories, and the red is defeats, and those are the length of the line would be the run differential. And so, early in 2018, we were just a mess. All those red lines, and right about that. Halfway through there, Now we're starting to win, and just like last year. Although the number, those lines, the length of those lines, the run differentials, are not quite the same. So what? Incredibly hot right now, and just like last year, if we can continue to replicate this arc of progress, the Dodgers are going to be fine. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, and it's not even just last year; it's the last several years. I mean, 2013. Before they went 42-8, they were in last place. 2014, 2015, 2016, they've, I think one of those years they had a season where they basically spent the whole year in first place. Every other year of these, 5 years in a row that they've won the division, and they haven't run the table in any year except I think one of them. They've had issues,
What do you attribute something like that to? I don't have any logical
baseball
thought.
Season's long.
Yeah.
I think what it boils down to is you can't keep a good dog down. I mean, if you have a good team, you're eventually going to get hot, and that's kind of why I go back to what I was saying earlier about just chalking things up to bad luck. But it doesn't make sense that the same basic team. I mean, obviously the Dodgers were missing Seager, but the team that got swept by the Reds was, other than Seager, almost the exact same team that won 104 games last year. And so there's not that much difference. And obviously there's guys who are struggling, whatever. But, what you have is you put together the best team possible and you trust the 162-game season to shake things out for you. And the fact is, most of the time, the best team is going to end up in first place when the season's that long.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I think when the season's that long, I couldn't agree with you more about bad luck. People don't want to hear that kind of a thing. Oh, luck, you make your own luck, blah blah. No, you don't. There's times I've seen a guy hit a ground ball between short and third, just a ground ball to go in between and get an RBI, and everybody's thinking that guy's awesome, right? And then you hit a rope the next time right at the third base when you hit into a double play. That guy sucks. It's the game is there over the long haul, to be measured over the long haul, and luck definitely is something that's not always easy. Actually, in baseball, it is easy to see, but most people don't see it because they measure things on results. Like, did that run get in? Did the guy get a hit? No, but he hit the ball. He scalded the ball, and if he keeps doing that, he's going to be good over the long haul. So,
well, and we saw that earlier this year with Puig.
Yes,
Puig, even though he was really struggling according to the results, he was hitting the ball hard, and it was obvious if you were looking at that he's not playing nearly as badly as his stats make it seem like he is. And so when he started breaking out, we weren't surprised because he's been hitting the ball, and luck evens out over the course of a season. That's the greatest thing. That's why I don't like the idea of shortening the season, because I don't think 162 is a magic number, but it's a long season, which gives it time for luck to even out. Chris Taylor's got his joking thing where he shakes his hands because he gets hits on
Bloops.
Bad contact or whatever, but he also hits a lot of line drives that get caught, like you said. Luck evens out, but luck doesn't usually even out over the course of a game.
No,
and that's why,
or even a series.
Yeah, and that's why good teams sometimes get swept by the Reds. And that's why I'm not taking too much joy in the fact that the Cubs just got swept by the Reds, because I think the Cubs are a good team, and so I don't think it has any bearing on what's going to happen the next 4 days. It's just the way the ball bounces. That's why why I love it so much more than the other sports. In football, the best team wins most of the time because the quarterback has so much impact on the game, where one guy can carry a team. In basketball, I mean, you have teams that win 70 games in a season, and that's the equivalent of a baseball team winning like 135 games. It doesn't happen. You can't dominate like that because you've got a different pitcher every day. You've got different luck. Even your best hitter only gets up four or five times a game, and so there's so much that can go into it. And I never get too high or too low over one game or even one series, because
let alone in a bat or a pitch.
And that's why we're finally getting to the point in the season now where I think we can start looking at, okay, what's the deal with Forsythe's offense? But even that, he spent some time on the DL. Forsythe's at what? Probably barely 100 plate appearances, 150 plate appearances this year. Mm-hmm. So, that's a fourth of a season. So we're getting to that point where we can say, come on now, it's time to shake out of this, but it's still, it's only the quarter of a season. And so there's,
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Puig hit a ball today. How'd that work? He hit a ball today, and the guy dropped it? And then he was watching his ball. Did you see that one today that he hit? And he was watching and
today or yesterday?
He got thrown. Oh, today he got thrown out at second.
That was yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh man, I don't know. Was it
the same inning? Yeah, it was the same inning that
we ended up scoring. No,
Grand Slam.
Yeah, we ended up scoring. It didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Could have big time. That was a 1-run game. It was late in the game. He got thrown out at second. It could have been second and third and nobody out. I know we've had this conversation before, and I don't want to belabor it, but I thought that was a good example of my point where, especially in the light of what you're talking about, and we both agree on, is luck being one of the beautiful things about baseball is you gotta take every opportunity you can to make luck not matter if you can.
Yeah, I wondered if you were going to bring this up because we have had this conversation about him in the past. I do think this situation was different because what we talked about in the past was him admiring what he thinks is going to be a home run, and then it ends up hitting off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
This was a blooper that, I absolutely agree. In a perfect world, Puig would hustle out of the box all the time. But yesterday, if he had been hustling out of the box, he would have been slowing down because you don't anticipate the ball taking that hop. When Conforto's coming in, most likely it's either going to be caught or he's going to play it off a hop and it's going to be a single. So it's not like Puig would have been sprinting around first full speed if he had been hustling. It would have been different. I don't know what would have happened if he had been hustling out of the box. My guess is that he probably would have held up at first because he would have already started slowing down.
Well, that's awful convenient. Go ahead.
Or he may have gotten second. I don't know.
He would.
I totally agree that Puig made a base running blunder yesterday. I don't think it's what we were talking about because he wasn't admiring his shot. Well, so it is a different.
He was watching. He was watching something. He was. Well, yeah, but he wasn't running.
I mean, he was watching. He was thinking, "Is it going to fall? Am I going to have a single, or am I going to be out?" What he didn't anticipate was Conforto might dive for it and knock it out of the way, and that's why you're absolutely right that in a perfect world, Puig would hustle out of the box all the time.
It doesn't even have to be a perfect world. It just has to be a good, reasonable. It's the old cliche. If everybody's good, nobody has to be great. And just be good. Just be good. I mean, I'll let you have the last word on this because I've been allowed to make mine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think 98% of the time that hit by Puig yesterday, Conforto plays it off a hop and it's a single, and we don't even notice that Puig wasn't hustling out of the box. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say it's awesome that Puig doesn't hustle sometimes, but I still don't.
Here, let me make your point for you because it's a good one, which is, look, this guy plays the game a certain way. He plays with a lot of joy and he plays with a lot of heart and passion, and part of that heart and passion is manifests itself in such a way that he will get disappointed or he will react off of what's going on in the game. And if you change that, if you discipline him to the extent where you're trying to make him do things that he's just not naturally doing, you very well could destroy the higher side of things and the good part of Puig. And why is the upside worth it? And that's fair, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's fair.
Yeah. And there's a lot of distance between our perfect world and where we currently are.
Yeah.
Where he could be, even if he had just had the good sense to say, "Crap, I didn't hustle, so I need to stop it first and, take my licks there."
Right. Right. Okay. Real quick. Let's see. I just want to do this real quick. We're gonna pretty much wrap it up here. But if there's room for one more call, and I want to thank all the fans who watched this the next day. But if you're here today and you want to chime in, we're just talking baseball. Like Ross Porter said, Tom, they're going to get nervous. They're not going to know what to say. Just tell them you're just talking baseball. If you want to talk baseball, chime on in. There were a couple bobbleheads available. I don't think I'm going to give a bobblehead away to my two normal callers unless they call me and say, hey, I want one of those. I might go ahead. But
yeah, we didn't get any first-time callers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that was kind of the caveat. So let's do this real quick. I'm gonna because I really do know this game, and I really admire that. In what year were these salaries paid to these players? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Here it comes. Oh shoot! Don't look. Look away. Look away.
Okay, I'm not looking.
Look away.
Yep.
Doggone it.
I'm on a delay on Facebook.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. I thought Charlie.
Doesn't pop up.
I thought my editor screwed this up. Let them see blue.
Oh, so I can look?
Yeah, you can look. Hold on. Let me pop it up on the screen. All right, hold on. There we go. There you go. While you're doing take a second with it, and don't go cheating. I know you're real fast online. You can go just plug it in.
Yeah.
Do it.
My hands are right
All
here.
right, don't, because I know you're quick.
It hasn't popped up on my screen yet because I'm just watching on Facebook, and so I'm a few seconds behind. But I'll keep my hands right here so you know I'm not cheating. All right, Eddie Murray, $2.5 million. So this is the same year for all these guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Take your time. While you're pondering that, let me just say, Dennis Peter over here on Facebook says Blue got to get averages up. Are going to be quick playoff run if we ever make it. A lot of people don't think batting average is important. I think it's a valuable statistic if you use it right, and I think it it couldn't hurt to get the averages up. Dennis, I'm with you. All right, what do you think?
All right, I'm gonna go with
this chicken feed. How can a guy make a house payment on this chicken feed?
I know it's rough.
Yeah, good Lord.
I'm gonna go with 1990.
Oh man! You see what you did there. You nailed it, and so now I can't trust you because you nailed it. I can't.
You saw my hands.
I don't care. You probably did it with your toes. You got someone over there helping you out. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I did. That I bet 1990 is the only year that all those guys were on the Dodgers together. And honestly, that I was looking more at the names than on the numbers.
Yeah. All right.
Because Murray came in, I think 90 was Murray's first year. Oral was gone not long after that. Some of those guys were, I know Alfredo Griffin wasn't there much longer. So, yeah, that's what I did.
Cal Daniels, remember him? He was highly rated, highly touted, and just really didn't kind of petered out.
Cal Daniels, I don't know if it was the camera angle, the off center from, left center field camera angle or what, but Cal Daniels is one guy that my brother and I, every time he came up against the left-hander, it was like, he's going to strike out. Like, how does he ever make contact against lefties? And I've looked it up. He wasn't very good against lefties, but he wasn't as bad. He wasn't like Eugenio Velez level bad against lefties. But
there's a reference only you're going to get, you and your brother. Eugenio Velez, okay.
No, that's not my brother. That's 2011. He's 0 for Dodgers. You remember that, right?
No, I don't.
He played a total of 34 games with the Dodgers and went 0 for 37.
I could do that, and I could do that for less than minimum.
Yeah, he was of more value to the Giants in the 34 games of his career that he didn't play for the Giants than in the 259 games that he did or whatever.
That's too funny.
But yeah, so Cal Daniels wasn't that bad against lefties, but he was pretty bad.
Let me just go back to that list real quick because that's question of the day. Oral making $1,900,000. No wonder he's got to do announcing now to make a buck. Mickey Hatcher, $450,000. This is Hubie Brooks. Do you remember what the team did that year? Were they any good?
They weren't very good. Yeah. Let's see. If I remember right,
Hamilton.
Oh no, that year they were good. I think it was the next year they were bad. So they finished second in the NL West in 90. It was 89 that they got bad again. 77, 83. Then they second in 90, second in 91, and then 92 they got really bad. Lost 99 games.
Ooh, that's not Dodger baseball. That's not Dodger baseball at all.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Alfredo Griffin. He only played with the Dodgers through 91. So I had narrowed it down because I knew Eddie Murray was, I think he came to the Dodgers in 90. 89. I was wrong. So yeah, I had narrowed it down to 90 or 91 based on who I saw on the list and basically guessed at 90.
So you used, as among your other tools of analysis, you used the process of elimination, which is
I did.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I use that a lot in life. Okay. A couple pieces of business here. I know not everybody agrees with me. I think that eventually, if we made a trade down the road, we would trade an outfielder, and I would be comfortable trading an outfielder because I'd be comfortable with this guy popping up in the lineup, and I like the style of play. I think on a team of Saffron, that he's a good paprika to go ahead and have in the lineup. Taco Bell, I'm gonna push this until you guys call me. If I'd like to put a big bell out in center field below the batter's eye, and then when the home run hits it, a home team home run hits it, you hear it dong real loud, and a lot of people call the home runs dongs now. I don't. But you hear that dong, and then everybody gets free tacos. Great campaign. Dodgers, call me. Make it work. There's my hitting coach, Billy the Bell Ringer, not to be confused with Bellinger. I just want to let you know, when you do these things, these at the carnival, if you just make the mallet of the bat hit flat and try to hit the striking portion that you're hitting, hit that flat, that thing will hit the bell every time. What the problem is, people try to hit it real hard and they hit it on an angle, that little bottom where you hit, and then it only goes 3 feet, and you think, oh, that's not right. Take a nice easy swing. It's like baseball. Take a nice easy swing, hit the flat part of the mallet on the flat part of the striking thing, and bam, you're good to go.
Who knew you were getting carnival advice when you listen to Talkin Blue Live?
That's right. And hitting, and I apply it to hitting. What else we got here? If you can't go see the Dodgers and the Dodgers aren't available to see, and you want to get out and have a good time with the family, a nice place to go drown out the noise of the kids, and they love the noise, and it's a very cost-effective place to take the family. Go out to Auto Club Raceway at Pomona. It is, I'm not kidding, it is a lot of fun. And if you go once, it's hard to go once because you think, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to do that. Too noisy, a lot of people I don't like. No, whatever. You'll go again. So when the Dodgers aren't playing, check out Auto Club Raceway. In-N-Out Burger Foundation, they do a lot for kids, and they don't toot their horn, which is really the idea. If you're going to be a gift giver and you're going to give to charity and you have to talk about it, you're not really giving to charity. Sorry, you got to give to charity and you can't tell anybody. That's kind of their approach, and they do a lot for kids. Lindsay Snyder, if you're out there, call me. The girls at Dodger Fan Weekly letting me piggyback on their show and their audience when I first got started, and we're kind of building our audience here and slowly getting the word out on who we are. I'm Tom Wilson. I'm just a baseball fan. First game I ever went to was in Dodger Stadium in 1968 when I lived in Santa Monica, and I think I saw Bob Gibson pitch, but I can't remember exactly. Jeff Snyder, you got anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, this was fun, Tom. Thanks for having me. If anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Snidog. SNIDOG, just my last name with an OG instead of an
You can see it on the screen there now, Snidog.
And I write at Baseball Essential, baseballessential.com. Do a Dodgers podcast with Vince Samperio called the Scully Avenue Podcast. You can check that out if you want to. And there's a picture of me and my son on my Twitter. Oh, I'm probably behind you, probably not on there anymore. But
no,
yeah,
it's on there. It's on there.
This was fun, Tom. I always enjoy talking Dodgers, and like you and I talked about earlier, it's we don't have to agree on everything. We agree on the most important thing, which is go Dodgers.
Yep.
And think of the sad life we could live if we had been born in San Francisco.
Oh man, why do you paint such an ugly story? Although I do love baseball. People always say, are you a Dodger fan? I say, yes, I'm a Dodger fan. But even more than that, I love the game of baseball. And
it could be even worse. Imagine if we had been born NFL fans.
Ugh. Oh, wait a minute now. I got a no politics zone here. I get letters and cards. All right, so let me cue up the music here and this up a little bit. And basically, Jeff, thanks, man. We'll be in touch. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. That was Jeff Snyder. Check out his podcast, his partner on the podcast. Between the two of them, the dudes know baseball. And if you want to learn about baseball, or even if you just want to they're not the professor that can't talk down to you. They do talk baseball, and if you're a beginning baseball person, it's definitely a lot of fun to listen to. And we will be back after the next series with the Cubs. Hollywood, my normal sidekick, is actually going to be in studio, I think. And all that to say, Thank you, folks, for watching this. I know there's hundreds. There's literally hundreds of you out there, but our fan base is growing. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have that music licensed. Oh, but it's pretty. It's nice. I'm going to turn it off, though. There it is. And with that, I just want to say, go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, babe.